Chapter 1551 Great Power of Heaven. Zhang Yi suddenly disappeared from the spot, which made Shen Chankashenshin fall into a frenzy. He was now firing at full force, racing against time to kill Zhang. Every second he stayed here, he would become more dangerous. At this time, the 30 seconds he claimed had already passed. Shen Chankashenshin was extremely angry. He turned his head and looked far away. Canero, who was supposed to be there aiming at him, had already escaped. Shen Chankashenshin clenched his fists and began to attack the surroundings indiscriminately. But the violent energy could only be vented in the void. Edo Castle was completely finished after this day. Very abruptly, a white light lit up in the sky. The sky behind Shen Chankashenshin became brighter. It was as if the night was over and the day was dawning. At this time, it was daytime, not night. The night that was forcibly summoned by him was dispelled by a more powerful force. A silver blade fell straight down from the sky and pierced Shen Chankashenshin's body. There was astonishment and fear in his eyes, and his body suddenly became stiff. A moment later, a deafening roar that broke the eardrums of everyone below came from the sky. The whole Edo city could hear this sound clearly. It was as if a god stood in the sky, holding a drumstick and beating a war drum. Boom, boom. The sound of thunder was endless, and what struck the god of Kamisawasho was a thunder that came in an instant. Deng Shintong and others were completely dumbfounded at this time. They were still fighting desperately with the crowd of the 100 Demons Night Parade, but the thunder broke through the sky and illuminated the entire Edo. The originally ferocious ghosts all disappeared like ashes in an instant. The dark clouds in the sky quickly dissipated, and Edo regained its light. Everything happened very quickly, as if the previous dark night was just an illusion. God of Kamisawasho is dead. The unimaginably huge thunder directly penetrated his body and burned him completely into charcoal. In the void, a crack appeared, and an arm stretched out from it, and then grasped his source that was about to dissipate. Zhang Yi put away the source of the sun god of Shenchancho and looked up at the sky with lingering fear. There were no clouds in the sky. The thick dark clouds had dissipated, and the sky was a deep blue that had not been seen for a long time. Thunder tribulation? This word emerged in Zhang Yi's mind. In the fairy novels of Huashu country, the power of thunder is always taken very seriously, and there is a saying of crossing the thunder tribulation in classical novels. However, today, he actually witnessed this terrifying scene with his own eyes. The sun god of Shenchancho, whose supernatural power index is close to 30,000 points, was actually killed by a thunder. Although Zhang Yi already knew that the existence of those mysterious civilizations did not appear in the human world because they were restricted by some more powerful existence. But he never knew what it was. Until this moment, he saw the mighty power of heaven. Zhang Yi rubbed his brows, feeling that the world he lived in was becoming more and more unreal. Does this world really have gods? Or a creator who controls everything? Forget it, I can't figure these things out no matter how hard I think. I have to leave this place quickly. Zhang Yi looked down at Edo Castle, which was almost completely destroyed. With the death of the evil boy and the god of the nest, the controlled species slowly woke up from the ruins. Most people had been killed by the aftermath of the battle, and those who had just woken up screamed in pain. It's so cold, so cold. Help! Where is this place? Why are there ruins everywhere? What happened to me? Why did I suddenly appear here? The screams represented the panic of Edo Castle. Zhang Yi had no time to care about them. Without the parasitism of nomadic insects, they were just ordinary people. Soon, most of them would die from the extreme cold. However, they would probably have to experience the tragic situation of the world at the beginning of the end of the world again. Zhang Yi landed on the immortal mountain. Deng Shintong and others had just experienced a great battle and did not look relaxed at this time. It's time to leave. Zhang Yi turned his head to look at the immortal mountain. This active volcano, which symbolizes the destiny of Japan, has collapsed halfway from the top of the mountain. The huge fossil of ancient creatures was fully revealed. That is, Liang Yi looked at the huge fossil and cried out, "Dragon!" Deng Shintong said with an extremely firm tone. That's right. The huge fossil of ancient creatures is the appearance of the giant dragon in myths and legends. The slender body, claws, and bone horns on the top of the head perfectly match people's imagination of the dragon. However, it is not just the fossil of a giant dragon. There are also several strange fossils of creatures with it, and they seem to be entangled together, fighting to the death. It can be clearly seen that the dragon claws penetrated their bodies, and they bit the dragon before they died, and their teeth pierced into the bones. This looks like a giant biological war in ancient times, Zhang Yi said. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the power of space was activated, and the entire ancient biological fossil was suspended and collected by Zhang Yi in the alien space. He felt that this thing was very valuable to take back. Looking back at Edo and the Immortal Mountain, including the Tenshu Palace, there were no decent buildings in the whole Edo. Forget it, there is nothing to plunder here. Zhang Yi didn't want to stay here any longer. At this time, he had just experienced a war, and most of the dimensional gates would be destroyed. If Cartiers and Canero came to fight him, Zhang Yi might be in trouble. Let's go back. He took everyone, opened the dimensional gate, and shuttled towards Tianhai City. None of them noticed that two illusory black shadows appeared in the crater of the Immortal Mountain. The god's nest is dead, a black shadow said coldly. Another shadow said, I reminded him that it's not time yet. It's dangerous to appear in this world. He underestimated the danger of the outside world. But the tribe spent huge resources to train him. Now he's dead. How can we be worthy of the tribe? There's nothing we can do about it. The biggest loss is that our plan at the lakeside has been ruined. Another shadow looked at him. Why? Do you need to train a new agent? The shadow said, let's talk about it later. This world is changing all the time. Besides, it's no longer meaningful to train a guy of that level. After the two shadows finished speaking, they gradually disappeared into the void. From beginning to end, Zhang Yi didn't notice their existence. Chapter 1552 Familiar Breath. Zhang Yi led everyone to leave Neon. Before leaving, he thought about whether to say hello to Canero. After all, he had also lent a helping hand during the previous battle. However, after thinking about it, Zhang Yi gave up this plan. At that time, their common enemy was Shenchancho Rishin. But now Shenchancho Rishin has been punished by heaven and died, not to mention that Zhang Yi escaped into the void at that time, leaving the crisis to Canero alone. At this time, the other party may concentrate the power of the Colombian Navy fleet to intercept Zhang Yi. Theoretically, Zhang Yi does not need to worry about being trapped by them. However, it has been 3 years since the end of the world, and the world's #1 military power is still not to be underestimated. Zhang Yi is unwilling to gamble on how strong the other party's foundation is. So it is better to leave first and say thank you to the other party after returning to a safe place. He will naturally remember the favor in his heart, but he needs to wait for the right opportunity to repay this favor. From Neon to Tianhai City, Zhang Yi constantly activated the ability of Space Shuttle and arrived after a long time. In the middle, he passed by the Star Island Mist Valley and took a look from a distance. That area was surrounded by a large number of naval warships, whether it was from Colombia, the East China Sea region, or other surrounding countries. Deng Shintong made a lot of noise there in order to lure away the Colombian Navy. Zhang Yi didn't know why he always felt uneasy. If the civilization of the underground world was really annoyed and the existence of the Hades gatekeeper appeared in the world, they would be in big trouble. Referring to the sun god of the god's nest this time, its strength is about 30,000 points. If it weren't for the summoning type in the trait system, Zhang Yi would have a harder time. The ability of this kind of person is mainly exerted in the battle formation, not alone. He can appear in the world. Then it is conceivable that sooner or later, the gatekeeper of the Hades will also appear on this land. At that time, Zhang Yi might face very big trouble. I must keep getting stronger, becoming stronger and stronger, until no one can threaten me and the lives of those around me. Zhang Yi swept across the sky from the distant Star Island, without staying here for a moment. But the moment he passed this area, under the earth, in the bottomless abyss, a pair of deep purple eyes suddenly opened. Familiar breath. Mysterious civilization language. Zhang Yi returned all the way to Tion High City. After seeing this familiar city engulfed by heavy snow, Zhang Yi was completely relieved. No matter when, no matter how far he left here, when he returned to this familiar land, his heart was always full of security. Zhang Yi flashed a few times and came to the shelter. The familiar warm feeling enveloped his whole body. Zhang Yi released Deng Shintong, Liang Yu, and others in the shadow space. Everyone's face showed a rare relaxed expression. Deng Shintong, Bailey Chongqing, Wu Di, and others who experienced this level of mission with Zhang Yi for the first time all showed expressions of surviving a disaster. During this trip to Neon, they encountered too many unexpected things. They originally thought that they were just holding Zhang Yi's thigh and carrying out an arrogant crush on a small country. Unexpectedly, they encountered so many difficult guys, and even in the battle, they almost died. Zhang Yi took off his battle clothes, threw off his combat boots, stepped on the soft carpet barefoot, and leaned directly on the sofa without caring about his image. "I'm so tired." He leaned his head on the edge of the sofa, yelled loudly, and took a few deep breaths. This way, he can vent his inner tension very well. That's right, when fighting with Shen Chankashan, because of the large amount of adrenaline secreted, Zhang Yi didn't feel afraid, but was extremely happy and wanted to fight with him. But after the battle, the whole person relaxed, and then he felt the danger of that battle. After all, that is a strong man from the mysterious civilization of the underground world. The supernatural power index is as high as 30,000 points. Also, according to Carnero, there is not only one such existence as the god of the nest, but at least two in Edo. If they had taken action at that time, it would have been a real crisis for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's words had just fallen, and Yang Xia came over with a few cups of coffee, smiling. She was wearing a beige turtleneck sweater, which perfectly highlighted her curvy figure, and a pair of blue jeans. As soon as Zhang Yi came back, she received a notification from the shelter's intelligence system, so she habitually prepared food for Zhang Yi to restore his physical and mental strength. Now, she has also become a qualified nutritionist. The supernatural food she makes can not only restore supernatural powers and physical strength for others, but also soothe people's hearts. The key is that it tastes very good. Have a cup of cappuccino, and have a good rest. Yang Xia personally handed a cup of coffee to Zhang Yi, and then handed the rest of the coffee to Fatty Su, asking him to give it to everyone after that. She came to Zhang Yi and sat down, massaging his sore muscles. Zhang Yi's body completely relaxed, and he wished he could turn into a pool of water and merge with the sofa. "Zhang Yi, we are now." Deng Shintong came over and wanted to ask Zhang Yi if he had any instructions. Zhang Yi wanted to lie on Yang Xia's soft and fleshy thighs to rest, but he had just returned from Neon, so he couldn't be too careless. He said to Deng Shintong, "Tell your people to pay attention to the movements at sea. Especially the Colombian Navy should pay special attention. I just encountered the piercer, and I don't know what their attitude is towards this matter. By the way," he raised his head and glanced at Deng Shintong, with a little playfulness in his eyes. "Now the matter has become a big deal. The region will know, and Xinjiang will also know. How will the matter be handled then?" Deng Shintong frowned slightly. Indeed, the original plan was to sneak in and take things away quietly. Now it has become a big deal, which is equivalent to directly invading a metropolis of a country. Moreover, because of Zhang Yi's actions, 500,000 people in the entire Edo city are facing death due to the loss of nomadic insects. I am afraid that it will cause a big public opinion storm in the international arena. However, Deng Shintong still said to Zhang Yi, "Don't worry, we have won a great victory this time. I will handle this problem. Even the high-level officials of Blizzard City and Xinjiang will not have too many objections." Chapter 1553 Xinjiang's Request. Zhang Yi was naturally happy to hear Deng Shintong say this. Anyway, The Deng family was in charge of the matter, and he had no responsibility. However, he would take the lion's share of the benefits of this matter. Zhang Yi did not mention the distribution of benefits. This time, he made a lot of money. The two origins of Shen Chankashan and Jie Tongzi, as well as the original copy of Wang Yangming's Xin Xue and a mysterious little golden dragon specimen. Oh, that huge ancient creature, suspected to be the skeleton of a giant dragon, is also of great research value. Deng Shintong did not talk about this either, but took Bailey Chongqing and Wu Di, left the shelter, and rushed to the seaside for patrol. That night, Tion High City was calm. Zhang Yi had a good rest. However, this trip to Japan caused quite a stir internationally. No matter who holds the real power in Japan now, Japan is the outpost of Colombia. Zhang Yi went to Edo openly and destroyed the Yumeting. This was not a trivial matter. Soon, the top leaders of all the major regions of Huashu country got the news. And there was also movement in Colombia. The consultations between them were complicated and lengthy, but those were not things Zhang Yi would care about. The next morning, when he woke up for breakfast, Deng Shintong told him something on the table. Colombia and the temporary representatives of Neon have protested. They demanded that we give an explanation for the matter. Yesterday, Shungjing launched an inquiry into Blizzard City overnight. The head coach also called my uncle over, and the two chatted for a whole night. Zhang Yi shoveled the milk oatmeal porridge in the bowl and asked lightly, "Did you discuss anything?" Deng Shintong looked at Zhang Yi and smiled. "It's not a big problem. Now is a chaotic world. Whoever has the bigger fist has the final say. Let's just say that we have long discovered that Neon is colluding with underground civilization forces with the intention of subverting human rule. They are all traitors. Anyway, Canero and the others saw with their own eyes that those non-human beings appeared in Edo. The evidence is solid. We have eliminated all the people in the demon court, so they can only listen to what we say." Zhang Yi said lightly, "That's good. But according to my understanding of them, this matter will not be resolved so easily." Deng Shintong spread his hands. "You know better. Foreign forces are supported by the upper level, but we act quietly, and they will not let it go so easily." Zhang Yi continued to drink porridge without saying a word, just looking at Deng Shintong quietly. It was agreed that how to deal with the subsequent troubles is the problem of the Deng family. Deng Shintong sighed helplessly. "We have to let them taste some sweetness, right?" Zhang Yi threw down the spoon in his hand with a click. "Does Zhuzhen want me to explain to him?" His expression was half-smile. Deng Shintong's tone stagnated, and he quickly said, "That's not what I meant. It's just that we must share some of the things we got this time with the regional leaders," and Shungjing, knowing that we got the ancient fossil from the Immortal Mountain, they expressed great interest. Zhang Yi said, "According to the agreement, I will study the original version of Xin Xue for a while. When I have studied it almost, I will show it to you." But he rubbed his fingers, looked at Deng Shintong with interest, and said, "We didn't say how to distribute the golden dragon specimen and the ancient fossil. Didn't I snatch them back?" Deng Shintong's face fell at that time. "Zhang Yi, you can't do that." If that were the case, wouldn't he be empty-handed? Seeing Deng Shintong's aggrieved expression, Zhang Yi laughed immediately. "Ha ha ha ha. I'm just kidding you, don't take it seriously." In fact, last night, he asked Zhou Ke to test the ancient fossil and the golden dragon specimen overnight. But the results were not satisfactory. According to Zhou Ke, the golden dragon specimen has not been in existence for long, no more than 1,000 years, so the remnants of biological genes can still be detected. Zhou Ke kept a little slice of this part of the genetic residue. As for the fossils of the ancient creatures, listen, fossils, these two words are so interesting. Because of the long time, they have turned into stones. What can be extracted? According to Zhou Ke, in addition to retaining the shape of the creature, there is no valuable thing inside. It's just that the bones are indeed hard, even surpassing some rare metals. However, its usable value is extremely low, and its greatest significance may be to build a museum in the future and use it for exhibition. Zhang Yi will not wait foolishly for others to ask before investigating the value of these things. He crossed his hands, propped his elbows on the table, looked at Deng Shintong and said, I am a very trustworthy person. I will give you what I said I would give you. I can give you what you want, but you have to tell me what you want them for. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he took out the small golden dragon specimen directly from the alien space and put it on the table. Deng Shintong stared at it intently and then said to Zhang Yi, it may have the power to promote biological evolution. I hope it can. I can find an opportunity to break through Epsilon from it. His eyes were very serious, and his hands were clenched tightly. In front of Zhang Yi, he knew that lying was meaningless, and it would easily arouse Zhang Yi's disgust. Therefore, he had to tell the truth and impress Zhang Yi with his sincerity. The power to promote biological evolution? Zhang Yi looked at the little golden dragon and frowned. He had studied this thing, why didn't he feel it? Could it be that this also varies from person to person? Dragon? Is it really a dragon? Or is it just a mutated lizard? In the field of genetics, the Deng family is ahead of the world level. Zhang Yi thought about it and decided to give it to Deng Shintong and let Deng's technology study it. Okay, since you said so, I'll give the things to you. I wish you good luck. But I want a research report every day, Zhang Yi said to Deng Shintong with a smile. Deng Shintong was overjoyed. Of course. We Deng family, and you will always be friends. Zhang Yi thought that would be best. In addition, that fossil of ancient creature, look. Deng Shintong rubbed his hands, looking expectant. You mean Shengjing wants it? Zhang Yi asked. Deng Shintong nodded. Nowadays, Shengjing is acting on behalf of Huaxi State. They also withstood some international pressure in this incident. It's strange. What do they want a fossil that is at least millions of years old for? Zhang Yi was not interested in the fossil, but if Shengjing wanted it, he would be happy to do a favor. So, he readily agreed to Deng Shintong's request. Chapter 1554. Become the King. Zhang Yi was very happy to send the things away. No matter how valuable some things are, if they cannot be used in his hands, they are meaningless. It is better to let professionals do professional things, and he will reap the benefits. Besides, as long as the Deng family exists in the Jiangnan region for one day, they dare not go against his will. Even if there are some small actions in secret, the benefits that should be given will still be given to Zhang Yi. Soon, Blizzard City sent the Yanyan troops to transport the huge ancient fossil back by special train and handed it over to the Shengjing Longming Guard, who came to receive it. Zhang Yi did not contact them directly, and the whole process was handled by Deng Shintong's people. Because at this time, Zhang Yi was eager to do another thing. That is studying the original Xinxue that he had just obtained. He tried to learn the means by which the aliens improved their strength. Because the further you go, the more difficult it is to obtain the origin of high-level aliens, and you can only seek your own potential. A well-preserved ancient book, he and Yang Xinxin read it together. Traditional Chinese characters and classical Chinese, these 2 points are not easy for him to understand. Fortunately, there is an intelligent system to assist in translation, and Yang Xinxin helps to interpret. For a few days, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin stayed in the research room, without leaving the door, and studied the things recorded in the book carefully. The information obtained shocked Zhang Yi greatly. Xinxue is Wang Yangming's lifelong Xinxue, and it is also the culmination of the study of Xinxue. There are 2 versions, the theoretical teaching version circulated on the market, and this more comprehensive version, which contains the guidance manual of supernatural power practice. Wang Yangming called it cultivation. In the ancient times of Huaxi country, people always called this pursuit of unity between man and nature, the ability to obtain special abilities and a long life as cultivation. However, everyone understands Tao differently. In Zhang Yi's view, the so-called Tao that Wang Yangming comprehended is actually a way to seek the original heart inward, to be enlightened at a certain moment, and to awaken powerful abilities. In the book, Wang Yangming used the principle of investigating things to gain knowledge to explain the supernatural powers he recognized. The great way is simple, and the source is in the heart. I think, therefore I am, so that the world and all things are in my heart. One thought brings all things into being, and one thought brings all things to an end. Where the heart is directed, all things can be controlled, so you can do what the heart wants and be free and at ease. Wang Yongming spent his entire life to get such a theoretical overview. He did not explain his ability in detail, but only thought that it was because he understood the Tao, exhausted the changes between heaven and earth, and turned me into a king. But now in the eyes of Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin, it can be clearly recognized that it was the awakening of supernatural powers. 3 days and 3 nights of research gave Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin a very strange feeling in their minds. They did not find any secret manuals of skills. In fact, the mutation of each supernatural person is different, and it is impossible to form a regular way to improve supernatural powers. However, what Wang Yongming gave them was the most basic theory. Just like building a house, you must lay a good foundation in advance. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the house, and the higher it can be built. In the past, Zhang Yi, or the aliens all over the world, became aliens in a confused state and then relied on their own understanding to grow and become stronger. Now, Zhang Yi at least knows where the source of his power comes from. Finding the problem, there is a direction to move forward. What Mr. Wang Shouren said is almost the same as what the scholar of Nash said. Zhang Yi raised his palm and stared at his dry and powerful hand. His fingers were slender and long, which was very suitable for holding a delicate dagger and stabbing into the enemy's chest and abdomen. The power of aliens does not come from the outside world. It comes from oneself. The body is a container. If you want to become stronger, you need to understand the shape and function of the container. Some people are vases, some are clepsydras, and some are soup spoons. Only by understanding yourself first can you know where the way forward is. Zhang Yi muttered to himself. He closed his eyes, and his heart was enlightened. The Tao that can be said is not the Tao. This is a saying in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, which talks about the fact that the Tao is difficult to express clearly and fluently in words, and more often requires personal enlightenment. After Zhang Yi read Xinxue, he had a sudden enlightenment. This could not directly make him stronger, it was just a theoretical guide. But Zhang Yi understood that this was a priceless treasure. He could already see the road ahead clearly. Compared to him, Yang Xinxin, who was sitting on the sofa next to him, had not said much. Her eyes were as calm as black gemstones, with only a faint light flashing from time to time, like a meteor that suddenly disappeared in the night sky. She was too smart. If it was really about talent, she might be the best in the entire shelter, even better than Zhang Yi. It's just that she doesn't like fighting, and she advocates being a wise man who plans and strategizes. However, the lifelong learning from the saints 600 years ago still made her immersed in it. She didn't close her eyes like Zhang Yi to understand the contents of the book, but stood up and left the room quietly. If it wasn't for helping Zhang Yi, it would take her only half a day, at most, to interpret it. After a long time, Zhang Yi slowly opened his eyes, and the whole person fell into a very mysterious state. This reminded him of the 2nd grade of junior high school, when he was still a second-year boy, and suddenly he realized the true meaning of physiological hygiene because of a class taught by his teacher. He felt that the world in front of him and himself were clearer. Zhang Yi took out the 2 original powers he got from Neon. The origin of the evil boy was intact, but the origin of the god of the nest was partially lost due to the lightning strike. He absorbed the 2 origins into his body. Then he tried to fuse these powers. Sure enough, after learning about Wang Shouren's extraordinary cultivation insights in Xinxue, he also began to master some skills. The speed of fusion is much faster than before. At this speed, it only takes 2 months at most to absorb these original powers. Not only has the speed of absorbing the essence increased. When I began to recognize my own power, I also became more open-minded about how to use it. I am here, therefore I think. I am the king of this world. This world is my own body. So, where is the upper limit of my ability? Depends on my thinking. It depends on how big my heart is. In Zhang Yi's eyes, the light began to twist in 2 different directions. The power of time and space seemed to be slowly blending. Chapter 1555 International Conference. After the chaos attack on Edo, major organizations around the world held an online meeting, and the virtual images of representatives from all parties gathered in a huge conference room to discuss the follow-up of the matter. As for Huashu country, it was Lu Chengyuan, the representative of Shengjing, who appeared. He is 52 years old this year, and it is the time when a man is most stable and his experience and mentality are the most mature. As the images appeared one by one in the air, the attitudes of the most powerful countries and forces in the world today gathered together. Now, the pattern of the world has long been broken, and a new pattern has been formed. The venue exists in the form of a ladder, expanding outward from the small circle in the center to form concentric circles. And sitting in the circle in the center of the conference, there are a total of 10 people who are the representatives of the 10 most powerful forces recognized by the world today. When Lu Chengyuan's image appeared here, everyone had arrived. Today, the representatives of Huashu country are the protagonists here. After all, they are the main responsible parties for provoking the conflict in this incident. After Lu Chengyuan appeared, he politely nodded to the other people in the venue and then sat in his seat leisurely. The representative of Neon spoke up to question immediately. This time, Huashu State sent people to invade Neon territory and killed a large number of Neon people. This is a naked act of invasion, and Huashu State must bear full responsibility for this incident. I demand that you hand over the culprit and compensate Neon for all its losses. Lu Chengyuan heard this and smiled disapprovingly. After the end of the world, Neon originally still had some military power. But after 2 large-scale conflicts, it was almost destroyed. Especially the aliens, they were all killed by Zhang Yi alone. Now they only have a place in the meeting, but in fact they are just puppets supported by Colombia. Lu Chengyuan said lightly, "If we talk about this matter, I must first talk about your collusion with the underground mysterious civilization. As we all know, the underground mysterious civilization has extremely powerful armed forces. Their existence may even cause a devastating blow to the entire human civilization. Neon secretly colluded with them and used their power. Is this to destroy all mankind?" A big hat was thrown directly over. The Neon representative's face changed slightly. The short old man with the Mediterranean face was gloomy, and he was still quibbling. The underground mysterious civilization is also a part of this planet. We are trying to communicate with them. The crisis covering the world at present may be solved with the help of their power. Lu Chengyuan sneered. Saying this is simply deceiving yourself. Unknown civilizations are different from our human race. You hope that they will live in harmony with us. Don't you think that only you Neon have dealt with these creatures of underground civilizations? His eyes swept across the venue, and the representatives of other parties were directly ignored by him. The only people who needed to be persuaded were the people in the center of the venue. We must have seen the strength of the underground civilization. They are extremely dangerous. A large number of people were killed and injured in the process of contact with them in our Huashu country. No matter what kind of existence they are, we must be prepared to go to war with them. At that time, it will not be a matter of a certain country or nation. It will be a crisis that the entire human civilization will face. Lu Chengyuan slammed the table hard and looked at the Neon representative with cold eyes. So this time, our Huashu country sent people to investigate the incident of Neon contacting the underground civilization in order to safeguard the great cause of human civilization. Now, I ask the Federation to hold Neon responsible. The words were resounding, and the Neon representative's face became more and more ugly. He was so angry that he slammed the table and stood up. Unfortunately, even if he stood up, he didn't look much taller than when he was sitting.
Baga.
This is purely a slander against my Neon empire. Before the Neon representative finished speaking, a middle-aged white man with brown hair and a neatly parted hair looked at him in front of him. "Mr. Tanaka, please sit down first." The expression on Tanaka's face froze, and soon he sat down obediently. Today's Neon has completely become a puppet of Colombia. Having lost the top aliens and their army taken over by Colombia, they can only obey Colombia. The Colombian representative crossed his hands and stared at Lu Chengyuan. We have already investigated the neon incident. The Yumiting organization is the culprit of colluding with the underground civilization, and they have been destroyed. All this has nothing to do with the current neon high-level organization. They are innocent. However, due to the conflict caused by your Huashu alien chaos in Edo, almost all of the 500,000 residents of Edo died. Huashu must explain this issue. We have enough evidence to suspect that this contains your genocide ideas. Lu Chengyuan smiled faintly. I believe you have all investigated what happened in Neon. The truth is in your hands, so there is no need to pretend you know nothing. Those people died because they were implanted with parasites by the leader of the Yuma court. And the aliens' chaos of our Huashu country have never directly attacked ordinary people. The representative of Colombia frowned slightly.
Of course he knew about this.
After all, their people were watching the battle the whole time. However, they would not let go of such an opportunity to force Huashu to give up their interests. At this time, the representative of Britannia adjusted his glasses and spoke coldly. One day before your alien action, abnormal energy fluctuations appeared in the Qingdao restricted area in the southeastern waters of Huashu. Afterwards, we found through satellites that it was a reaction of a large-scale weapon created by humans. And that weapon is the newly developed giant torpedo of the Ziohare 4 type of your Huashu country. As soon as these words came out, all the representatives stared at Lu Qingyuan, and everyone looked unfriendly. You always claim to be the defender of order. But when facing an unknown underground civilization, you take the initiative to attack it on a large scale. Do you know that this may cause unimaginable consequences? Lu Chengyuan thought of the information he saw during the day and sighed in his heart.
Deng family.
It really can cause trouble for them. However, this is also the meaning of his existence. Diplomats are responsible for verbal battles in such occasions to strive for the greatest interests for the country and the forces they represent. Dear viewers, thanks for staying tuned. Please like and subscribe if not already.